Welcome to Being Black and Craft, where we don't apologize for recognizing our influence on craft beer. This is Angie, the undeniable vixen, your host. And I have a wonderful guest as usual, but I want to make sure that you know how to reach us. We are live every Monday. You can reach us via YouTube, Instagram, Facebook as well. And we're always live. And then on the next day, the um the live capture as far as like the audio, it's put on a podcast and it's available on all platforms. You can always reach us. So please make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe to us. So the more people that subscribe, the more people that get to listen to us, the more viable that we get to be monetized, which is something that I love to have to be monetized. So I think that's it. So let's go ahead and dive into beer news. So here we go. Of course, we wanted to say, oh, my dog is, I forgot to take Leia's collar off. Happy Veterans Day to all that have served. Thank you for your service. Thank you all our veterans that are out there. Hopefully you were able to get um, have a nice day, have a nice meal, have a couple of nice meals. I know my parents usually start early and they go and just get all the things, everything that's coming to them. So I hope that you enjoyed your day. Next, of course, we used to have Black Beer Delegates, which is, I guess I would say, a subsidiary of Being Black and Craft. We had our bottle share, our monthly bottle share at On Rotation in Arlington. Little did I know, because I don't do sports, there was a Cowboys game, and it was Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles. So it was very, 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 very hard to find a parking place. I found the last parking place. And oddly enough, there were people in there watching the game. And so when we went to go and take this picture, this man, he was like, "Oh, y'all need to leave because they were doing better when y'all left." I was like, "That's funny." And then after he said it again, I was like, "Well, maybe you should leave. Maybe you should go, because I could care less about if the Cowboys win or lose. I could get a flying flip about the Cowboys." And I live in, guess where? Dallas, Texas, all my life. But I'll fight you over the Stars, over the Rangers, um, and anything else but the Cowboys. I'm a Saints fan, and I don't know when they won something. So there you go. But I was like, after the election and everything, people are very tense, and I wasn't about to go there. But please, y'all in y'all sports, you folks in y'all sports, y'all need to move around, because I don't care about no sports. But we still had a good time, regardless of that man who ruffled my feathers. And got some new people that are interested in coming to join us. We have the bottle share. We don't do it as big as others, but we have a nice, consistent group of folks that are interested in being in the company of other people and fellowshipping and loving and enjoying beer and having great beer discussions. So there's some more pictures of us. We even got Black Man Brewing. He showed up because, basically he's a nomad. And he brought us some stuff, some vintage stuff, I think from 2017, that were really, really good. Then also, friend of the show, Brandon Montgomery, who is a Black Beer Traveler. He has an article. If you subscribe, or you might be able to Google this recent article about his 5 to try Brandon Montgomery's nostalgic winter beers. And I picked one out of the top 5 just to give you a little bit of a teaser. which I was interested in, was the Chimay Grand Reserve. So he says, in October 2014, I found myself in Abu Dhabi for work. One night for dinner, we decided on a Belgian restaurant in Intercontinental Abu Dhabi, where we were greeted and with this is so tiny, very expected aesthetic of a traditional Belgian beer bar. Ordered mussels paired with the Chimay Grand Reserve Blue, says Montgomery, noting the color of the label, which has become an identifier of Chimay's classic Belgian Abbey beers. The pairing was slightly aggressive for the mussels, but the beer is perfect for cold nights with deep, bready malts and rich candied fruit notes. With each sip, you develop a warm protective layer, and it ranges about $27.99 for a 4 pack. So that's available at bevmo.com. So that's just one of the beers that he mentioned. So please check him out and check out the other four nostalgic winter beers to put in your collection and taste. Then just want to just recap and make sure it's basically a month away. We have CBP Connects, and MB2A is going to be going there. Kevin Asada is going to be speaking for the 2024 State of Black Brewer, leveraging diversity as a source of economic good. So I'm very excited to hear what he has to say on that. Then, if you didn't know, CiderCon is right around the corner in February in Chicago. This is going to be really nice. Chicago is not the place that I would probably find myself at, but because it's cider and I know people that are in Chicago that I want to see, and the food, oh my gosh, the food and the beer, Funky Town Moors, and cider. I got to get a little beer in there with my cider. But from the 4th through the 7th, the registration is open right now. And of course, would not be remiss without mentioning that the registration is available for craft beer conference. If you're wanting to apply to be, I guess, a part of the oh, let's get to my part of the uh, oh, I can't think of the word. If you want to be a fellow, there we go. It's my word. Want to be a fellow. If you're wanting to do something in person or virtual, if you're wanting to go to the conference, save these dates and come out and enjoy. I think we're going on 4 years or 5 years. We're getting really close, almost to the 5 year mark. So shout out to Jen and all the people at Crafted for Action. So that's all of my news. All right, so let me go ahead and add my guest this evening. Good evening, good
Hello.
evening.
Good
So,
evening.
you know, as I toast my cigar, because that's the kind of day I've been having, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna have any beer today. I think I'm gonna have liquor.
Oh, okay now.
So
Okay now.
I have a little bit of vodka, a little bit of Grey Goose pear, and some juice, and a nice sweet cigar to kind of go with it, since I'm going to be talking to such a sweet person. So let's see, where do we start? Tell me a little bit about where you are, how you started, as far as like day one of you saying craft beer. I like that. How did you
Yeah,
start?
that is an excellent question to get us started. So, here in Atlanta, there's a pub called 6 Feet Under, and it's where me and many service industry people got our start because it's about a mile away from Georgia State University. And I started there as a hostess, but once I moved over to serving, they make beer training as part of your like server training there. So like in the training, and I became a very regimented and very proud trainer, if I do say so myself, where you had to try 6 beers, 6 draft beers that they had as part of your server training there. And because I became a renowned trainer there, then I was training all the future servers on the six best beers that I kind of discerned there. And that's honestly where it started for me. We had 24 draft beer lines at 16 under, and they were always filled with some of the most big, beautiful beers. And I'm so glad that on your intro about black beer, black craft news, that you spoke about Chimay, because Chimay was the first one. Chimay White. Chimay White was my first. Oh, this is good. Like, you not telling me this is not better than any wine, any spirit, any liquor. I had that Chimay White for the first time, and it was just like, oh, like it was just that. And we also had Weihenstephan, the German one that comes in the really tall glass, the one I'm speaking of, Angie.
I
And
think
that
so.
one, those two were my first. Like, it's a very nice Hefeweizen beer, made in
Mm,
Germany, and those two were my first two favorite beers. And I was just like stuck. I still go back to that old job. I don't work there anymore. That was a little over a decade ago, but I still go back there and get that every now and then with a shot of Fernet on the side, if I'm being honest. And yeah, so Chimay and Weihenstephan were my entry points into the craft beer world. But because of where we were located, like we're right next to, or that restaurant I worked at was right next to where the Braves played. And so we had
mm,
beer reps. This is when craft beer, about a decade ago here in Georgia, was just starting to blossom. So we had sales reps from just about every local brewery coming in and trying to, like get both like the beer servers and like our managers on board. So they would have us have little mini trainings at one of our big tables. Like all the servers who were interested would come around, taste those beers from the local craft brewers. And I just really was very fascinated to keep learning about how beer could be so complex and big after, Chimay and Weihenstephan had like opened my palate up. And yeah, I just learned from like the greats, like, Scofflaw was in there back in the day. This is when Eventide, RIP, they're another brewery here in Atlanta that's now unfortunately gone. But several of the big greats, Creature Comforts was really a really big presence. Like I remember their rep like always coming in to like, kind of educate us and try us on their new stuff because we were always carrying on draft. And so that's my entry point. I hope that answers your question.
absolutely. So is
Yeah.
Atlanta always been home for you, or have you lived somewhere else?
So I've always lived in Georgia, but I'm originally from a suburb of Atlanta that's like pretty close to the Alabama line. So if you get me around other folks from out there, I start sounding a lot more country. But I was from like West Georgia, as we call it. We call it West Georgia. And now I've been in Atlanta since 2010 when I came up here to go to college at Georgia State, and I just kind of stuck around.
Okay. Okay. So, as I want to know, and I forgot to ask you, were you drinking anything? What are you sipping on tonight?
So tonight I'll show you my can. So it's funny we just finished talking about West Georgia because this brewery, Printer's Ale Manufacturing, is from my hometown. It's in Carrollton, Georgia. I know you know Carrollton. There's Carrollton, Texas, right? But there's Carrollton,
Yeah,
Georgia,
right
also
up the
that's like
street.
right near Alabama. And this is their creamsicle sour. Yeah, there's Carrollton, Georgia. Yep, that's where I was raised. And yeah, this beer is made there. I love this brewery. It's actually in the same industrial complex where my mama works. Like my mom works probably like less than 1,000 feet from where this beer is made, and they make this
Mhm.
amazing creamsicle sour. So it's what we got going on today.
Okay. Well, cheers. I pulled out my Craft for Action glass. Shout out
Yeah.
to Jen.
Yes. Shout out to Jen. I just saw her earlier today. It was today was
Cool.
the Georgia Craft Brewers Guild's fall trade conference. And so she was there, and a lot of our super amazing Atlanta community of Craft Women Connect was there, and we just got to have really awesome community. And it was a beautiful way for me to start my day before this and
Nice.
end it with some beautiful Black women community and craft beer.
Nice. So, okay, so pretty much Georgia's been home, and now you're in Atlanta area. Tell me one of the things, I guess, if I was coming to your town and I knew nothing about Atlanta, which I feel like I still probably haven't scratched the surface, where would you take me?
Okay. Okay, what kind of vibe are we looking for? Are we dancing? Are we drinking? Are we doing a little bit of both? Like, what kind of vibe are we trying to find, Angie?
Wanted to have some beer, maybe have some cocktails. If I wanna, kick my leg up once or twice, I'll be able to do it without nobody looking at me crazy. Nothing too wild.
Okay, okay. Well, the first place I'm going to bring you is my place of work, which is Atlantucky Brewing, because we obviously got the right brews there. That's my home, and I think that it's a great place to start because it's one of only two, black-owned breweries here in Georgia. I'm very proud of us for that. And so we would start there, but then we probably end up going to a place named the Porter Beer Bar, and it's in a small neighborhood called Little Five Points, and it's like a cool like arts district of Atlanta is what I would call it. And they have the best cellar. They have a super amazing cellar. They have a small crafted menu that's really well paired with beer, like just their beer mac and cheese goes nuts. Man, they closed for renovations for a couple of years and people were like waiting, like had like a timeline for when they were going to reopen. So we would probably start at Atlantucky, end at the Porter Beer Bar, and if we were still feeling crazy, I'd take you somewhere to East Atlanta. And the East Atlanta's got a little bit of something for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as like transportation, so we're definitely gonna need a car, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're definitely need a car. Okay, okay. Right. And as far as food, what is your
Mm.
go-to spot?
Ooh, that's hard. Mm. I would
Okay,
say
top
right
three.
top three. I can do a top three. We can do a top
Okay.
three because I'm gonna start with the place that's been getting my love the most here recently. It's a spot called Rodney Scott's Barbecue. It's a black owned like celebrity chef barbecue spot that's like a
Okay.
mile and a half or like about a mile from Atlantucky. So I usually stop like on my way to work or I'll go on my break to pick up their smoked wings. They have these smoked
Mm,
wings and they have this Alabama white barbecue sauce like they
mm.
do dry rub on the smoked wings, dip them in the white barbecue sauce, that with a side of collard greens and hush puppies, gonna get you right every time. So I love Rodney Scott's. And I've had other stuff up their menu, but once I have an order, we don't fix what ain't broken. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's yeah, so that's my number one spot right now. My number two spot, mm, it just closed, but there was a place called Fuck You. Pho, because it was Vietnamese, but they also did barbecue, and you get you some Texas smoked brisket on top of a bowl of pho, like by this amazing duo team there, and that is where I would have taken. They had brisket egg rolls, and they're still alive. They just now do pop ups at different events and festivals, so they're
Mhm.
still around, but they're not like brick and mortar. They decided to go with that more that model. So fuck you. I said Rodney Scott's already. Obviously, barbecue is a trend in my house and in my family. And then probably I'm gonna take you to El Progreso. El Progreso is this joint that's right by one of the federal prisons here in Georgia. So we call it prison tacos, but it's like a little grocery slash market, and they have some of the best tacos, like their al pastor and their chorizo and their barbacoa. Some of the best you're gonna find in the city, and it's literally a block or two in front of the federal prison in Atlanta, but that's where I'm
Okay.
going to take you. That and we're going to
So,
get a cup of the sorrel for you to go to wash it down, and it's done. It's over.
mm, okay.
Yeah,
So might end up seeing some lights as we have some tacos.
maybe a few, just a couple.
Okay, 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 okay. Let's see. So let's take a break for a game. And I'm gonna play my favorite. So we mentioned different areas of Atlanta. So kill, marry, kiss. Or kiss, kill, yeah, kiss, marry, kill. So it's going to be Midtown,
Okay,
Little Five Points,
okay.
uh, some no Piedmont Heights.
Piedmont Heights. Okay, okay. So Little Five Points, Piedmont Heights, and the first one was Midtown. With a kiss me kill. Ooh. Huh. Okay. All right, I got it.
Okay.
So we're gonna kiss little 5 points
All
because
right.
little 5 points is a little like we want to get in there, but we don't want to get all the way in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a little dirty,
Dip, dip
like
your
so where
toe
it's like
in.
we don't know where they been, so we gonna kiss little 5 points. It's a little fun, but we don't really know where all they been. So we just gonna kiss it. Midtown, we're gonna marry because Midtown's got a little bit of something for everyone. I think that it's cool. It's a good literally a midpoint in the city, and I feel like it's safe. So we're gonna marry that. And then for Piedmont House, we're gonna have to kill it because I don't really be going that far north on 75 because that traffic is bananas. So that's my
See,
answer.
and I knew I knew not to say Stone Mountain because nobody wants to go that far for anything.
Yeah,
So,
no, fair.
okay.
That's my answer.
Okay.
I'm sticking to it.
Okay. All right. Um, so tell me more about how you let's talk about Women of Evolution
Yes.
and how you got connected with them and winning one of the grants, and that's how we kind of met. How did that start with Women of Evolution? How did you get connected with them?
I'm glad you asked that because I owe that to my Atlanta beer family, just like I owe just about everything that I've been up to for the last like year or two. And that was my Conzo. Have you met Conzo Bro? The brothers that brew, but Conzo Brewing out of Atlanta?
Yes.
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 So yeah, they're Morehouse Brethren that started a brewery kind of operation. They're still working on their brick and mortar, but I have been helping them with digital marketing and their event marketing, like being a presence for them at different beer festivals and things when they were, like otherwise committed because they're all men with full-time jobs and I'm a girl who just loves beer and I love talking about it. So I've been helping them out for a while. And one of the guys from the group sent me the Women of the Revolution post and they knew I've been working on this documentary for a while, and he just sent it to me. He was like, "Hey, FYI, you should try for this." And it was probably a little under a week from the deadline, but I was like, "Bet that sounds like something that's right up my alley." I do feel like I'm a creator in Bev because the creator in Bev grant, that we both got, and I feel like I'm a creator in Bev, but I don't really. That came at a very pivotal time because I really still don't really feel like I'm not a brewer, right? I was at that trade show earlier and I was always like, I'm not a brewer. I'm not trying to flex and say I'm a brewer. I am a person that's very interested in the conversation around beer and making and driving the culture around it. So
This is
when I saw that
important.
creator and yeah, it's very important. Like people that are here to preserve that history, I feel like are just as important as people who are, like making the beer themselves. So or at least in my opinion. No disrespect to brewers. Y'all know y'all do the work, y'all do the real dirty work on the day to day. But I feel like we also have an important role to play. So when I saw that grant that seemed tailored to people who were sitting trying to, contribute to that conversation, I was like, that's for me. So that's how I started or I applied and we both ended up in the finalists. Congrats to us both.
Okay. So that's when we got connected, and then when we reconnected, you were telling me about um the documentary. So tell me a little bit about the documentary and where you are and how people can help with funding
Yes.
for the documentary.
I love that. So my documentary is tentatively named right now Black Beer Culture. And it's really just an exploration of Atlanta's Black beer renaissance and what we're building here. So originally in my mind started as a mini series, but through meetings that I've had with our distribution, commitments, it has turned into what we're calling now as a documentary. But it's about Black brewers, it's about craft beer enthusiasts like myself and like yourself, and just the culture curators here and throughout Atlanta that are just kind of contributing to the greater conversation and the growing like Black bear culture here in Atlanta, which I'm super proud of. And I know that we have a ripple effect both here in Georgia, but like also outside of this for when we roll up to events like Barrel and Flow, for when we roll up to things like the Craft Brewers Conference in Las Vegas or wherever they're hosting it. Like we show up and we really showcase and I feel like highlight Black culture because we're from Atlanta and it's kind of like ingrained in who we are. It's in our DNA, you know? Um, but like the documentary is not just about Black bear culture, but it's also about our legal and the cultural barriers that are just hindering us from succeeding more. Because Atlantucky is one of only two Black-owned breweries in the state of Georgia, which I think is we can do a lot better than that, just based off how many folks that are, I would say, enthusiasts in the scene, right? And I want to talk about how we're overcoming that, and we're still creating culture and driving it in the spaces that we can, even though there's these huge legal barriers created by the three-tier system here in Georgia that's super antiquated and based in racism, if we're being quite honest. And I want to talk about that and dissect it and look at how we can hopefully all contribute to changing that. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, um, how how deep are you going into as far as like the legislature aspect of it? Are you planning on taking a trip to the state capitol to talk to see if you can talk to some folks who are the movers and shakers of changing some things, especially the distribution aspect that was on the ballot that didn't get passed?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that because I'm trying very much not to step on the toes of our local craft brewers guild that's like lobbying on our behalf every day, like at the Capitol about these issues. So how far I will go in terms of like going over there to kind of like question our state legislators directly is going to be based on a collaboration of us working together. Like one of the other employees of Atlantucky is a part of the directors board of like the craft brewers guild, so I want to very much work in tandem with that. So to be determined on that. I really do want to ask the important questions. Like my background is in journalism. Like that's what my degree is in. That's what I've done a lot of like freelance writing. And so I really want to get in there and ask those hard questions that maybe the Craft Brewers Guild can't. But I also don't want to impede the progress that they are building,
Hmm.
with trying to like legislate and trying to lobby those lawmakers to get craft beer law passed. But as you know, like you spoke about, like that law that was killed earlier this year before he could go to a vote was really a big blow to small brewers, but also to like I said, people just watching the conversation like me. It's like really hard to sit back and just like be like we didn't even get a chance to like voice our opinions because craft brewers in mass like showed up on the Capitol steps like early this year. It was like February and March, but we showed up in great numbers out there to show support before it moved to a vote, just to make sure that our legislators saw that there was a vested interest from the Atlanta greater community, right? Like that we care about this law, that it means a lot to us, that it's creating jobs, that it's just like creating a future, like a real future for us. And the fact that it didn't get moved to a vote is very disheartening. Like it really shows that like,
Yes.
like we want to think that our voices matter at a local level, but
Mhm.
it's kind of hard, when things like that happen. So I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm very much being respectful. We're gonna respect each other's space and our roles and trying to get this beer passed. But I have some important questions to ask because I know I'm not the only one. Like I'm very tapped into. There's like Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit groups that are dedicated to Atlanta beer culture, and that's just across like white, black, whomever, like those conversations about craft beer law and how it's really hanging us up and like causing smaller breweries of like, of like pretty good status here in Atlanta to have to close because they just can't create enough revenue with big distribution on their back taking 30-35%. Like those conversations are already being had in those groups. So I know that there are constituents that want those answers. So I will be respectful, but I also know that I'm gonna have to get those answers as part of my documentary. If I'm gonna offer the product that I feel like the people deserve, I'm gonna have to get those answers somehow. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, yeah. That makes perfect sense that you want to be respectful and you don't want to you know piss anybody off to where they say, "Oh, were you
Yeah.
part of this?" No. Yeah, go
That wasn't me.
elsewhere.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, so I totally get that, but yeah, I think that that's a good balance, that you will be able to ask the questions that maybe the guild may be kind of tied up to, and be able to put it in a voice to where it is inquisitive
Hmm.
and not demanding, but the question needs to be answered.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So where are you right now in as far as like formulating and where do you think how are you forecasting as far as not I don't want to say getting it out to as far as like, film in the can, but where are you in the process right now?
So I would say we're at about 30 to 40% right now because we've been collecting footage. I started last year. Yeah. So, I mean, 30 to 40% because most of my people that I'm interviewing are already fam. Like we talked about Jen Price, from Craft of Fraction. And, like a bunch of these folks are already fam. So it's been so easy to get them to sit down with me and
Mm,
have conversations. And I just, the footage is being collected, but I still have to format, how we're going to lay it out and make it a super cohesive, but also compelling story. But I've gotten interviews with about 30 to 40% of the people that I want to talk with. And the other, like 60 to 70% is just more people that I have to go to, like outside of Georgia. So I need that funds. Like we talked about a little bit about fundraising. And so I'm launching
yeah.
a fundraiser really soon where we're gonna be selling some apparel like t-shirts and things like that to help us raise funds for us to get
Okay.
to Florida, get to North Carolina. Like we have to go to the places that are doing something similar to what we're doing here but doing it better because they have better beer laws. And we have to show like I'm gonna follow people who's like brewers who originated here in Georgia and then like show their operations in both like Florida and North Carolina and why they moved to those places because of more opportunity because the craft beer laws here in Georgia are just so antiquated and don't make no dang sense.
Give me a teaser. Who would that be?
So for Florida, I'm sure you know Joel Franklin.
The name sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah. So Joel Franklin, he used to brew for Atlantucky and he also brewed for another really well known like lager brewery here in Atlanta named Halfway Crooks. And before he moved
Mhm.
to Florida to help open a new brewery called Woodfoot. So he is on my list of like shootees down in Fort Walton Beach because he's moved from the Atlanta scene to go move and like start his own, operation down there with Woodfoot. So he's one of the people that I'm following then I also want to follow Hip and Hops. So Hip and Hops, have you heard of that one? So they're based here in Atlanta, but they also have a tap room in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I know that they're doing such successful business. Like I have friends who visit Charlotte and tell me about it because they're like, "Do you know about this white brewery up here in Charlotte? Called Hip and Hops." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're in Atlanta too, but they're just able to do so much more there because of the kind of the freedom in North Carolina." So I want to follow like why because he opened his North Carolina tap room after he opened his Atlanta one. So I want to talk to
Mhm.
Clarence from Hip and Hops, and I want to talk to Joel about their journeys of like why that exit from Georgia was necessary, and like how we're gonna, I don't know, hopefully bring them back into the fold if we can ever change Georgia beer law.
Okay, okay. So so you plan on doing some merchandise. You said that's going to be within the next couple of months.
Yes. I have like a cousin of mine is an amazing artist and he's working on some designs that feel very, beer focused in his own kind of cool and creative mind. So he's working on designs for me that I'm gonna get printed on t-shirts and we're gonna have those available for purchase in the next month or two. I'm hoping by the holiday season so people can like hopefully buy a t-shirt or things as a present to me and help contribute to our documentary fund. I've already done some fundraising. I have craft beer candles that I make because I love crafting and so I've been making craft beer candles out of Atlanta brewery cans that I'm really proud of too. Like I can see right now like some cans with like wicks already in them because whenever I have a bad day, I'll just get in my candle mode and get my essential oils out because it's really just like a little bit of hot wax, a little bit of essential oils where I get to do my creative thing, and just like kind of like mix them. I got an essential oil that smells like beer that I bought off the internet and I can mix that in there. I have like fruit ones, and so whenever I get, just having an overwhelming day, I'll start making a few more candles and then sell them out to the friends that I have who have been just the ones who have helped me get to places like craft beer conference, in Vegas where we saw each other and to Barrel and Flow Fest. Like those like candle purchases for my friends have made those trips possible, and so I hope that continued purchase of the candles
Okay.
and of the t-shirts will help get us to Florida and get us to North Carolina without bankrupting me. while
So
I'm still
def
trying to fund it.
definitely let us know, so we can put that information up in Beer News and post it on the site. So when you have that, because I'm a t-shirts nerd or a t-shirt snob. I love t-shirts. I absolutely love t-shirts. I have probably have too many. I have so many t-shirts. I pulled old ones because I'm gonna make a quilt. Have where you send it and make a quilt
That's a
out
good
of it.
idea.
I
That's a
have it.
really good
Yeah,
idea.
I've
Yeah.
got to because I was like, I can't wear all these shirts. Where do these shirts come from? But I don't want to throw them
No,
away.
I'm the same way. I don't, because like brewery and band and concert t-shirts run my life. Like, I promise you. And it's
Mhm.
about time for me to make a quilt too. But I just love them, like the nostalgia days come and it's like, no, I want to wear that. I can't wear a quilt.
Right.
Uh,
So tell me more about the scene, because one of the questions that I asked, I was like, "Are you a single lady?" And you was like, "Yes, I am." So how is it? How is the dating scene in Atlanta? Is it just as sad as anywhere else? How are you navigating that?
that is a great question. And I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity in in Atlanta, I want to say, just being a
Mhm.
black woman is being acknowledged on your way into the liquor store, into the gas station, into just about the grocery store, you're gonna get acknowledged. Like that's just the way that Atlanta's set up. If you in, it don't matter if you in some slacks, some sweatpants, some like, you got your bonnet on dang there, but like you're gonna get, some traffic, some heat. But I was just
Mhm.
speaking about this with some ladies earlier today at the trade show, some of our girls, and I just said that there's nobody that feels complete. Like I think that there is certain people that I've found where it's like, okay, I can spend time with this person, but like, or we like doing the same things like activity wise, but we don't really have that compatibility. And then there's this person where I can talk to for hours, but I don't really like, maybe this, what ain't great, and then there's the one person where it's like, what is great, but the conversation, and I don't want to really hang
It's
around with
like
you. So I was saying that I was like, you really kind of need like a roster to, I feel like, fill all of your needs as a woman here.
you
And
have to
I'm
like
too.
it's like build a
You
bear.
gotta create. Build a bear. It's giving Build a Bear. It's really giving Build a Bear. And I just can't be bothered at this point. Like I'm in my, like early 30s at this point. I just don't really feel like I have the energy to build a roster. So I just find myself feeling unsatisfied, like, and not to say
Yeah.
there's out there that will satisfy me, but from basically what I'm seeing from like the kind of people around me, and I'm not on any apps or things like that, so I can say
Mhm.
that it's probably a little bit of my own, like, just like not real discovery, because I work at a bar, like I'm like, if I can't meet a man in real life, like, then who can, so I I don't know, it just doesn't feel like anything's truly fully fulfilling right now, and that's just
Yes.
a thing like that. Like where I will say that I entertain a gentleman here and there, but I just don't feel like there's anybody that's taking me off the single market right now because I'm an intellectual. Like I want you to be able to talk about good whiskey with me. I want you to be able to talk about good beer with me. I want you to be able to talk about good film and whatever. Like I need you to have interest.
Yes.
Am I asking for too much? I hope not. But
No,
like I
that's
need you
that
to
I
have
I feel like
interest.
that is the bare minimum, and I
Right.
realized even when I'm asking you the question, I realize in myself that I can't necessarily complain or have a gripe because I don't go anywhere. I know I'm out doing stuff, but for the most part, I go to work and come home. So
Same.
I'm not even putting myself out there to meet someone unless it's an Amazon person. And I don't even see them because it's usually dropped off before I get home.
Yeah.
So I can't even complain about saying, "Oh, I haven't found anyone," because I don't go out to do such things. And I got another job, outside of working my daytime job. I have a secondary job. Well, I have two secondary jobs,
Mhm.
and no men are in that realm. So it's just like, uh, do I want to be bothered? And I realize that because see, you're still young. You're still young. You got the twinkle in your eye. I'm in my 50s. So when I say I don't want to be bothered or I don't care anymore, I really feel like it's giving I don't care anymore. And as far as like I don't want to build a bear either. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, what else to do?
Yeah.
What's to do? I guess sit here and smoke cigars
Um,
and drink vodka.
Staying
That's
young, because we are young at heart, and staying young and carefree is what's to do. That's what it is. That's what it is, and that's what I got for now. So young, carefree, enjoying ourselves. Like I feel like we owe it. I don't know. This is my personal opinion, but I feel like we owe it to our ancestors to, if there's not, anything that's calling, in that way, to enjoy ourselves and live our best lives. Like we owe it to them. Like to be able out here, like this is their wildest dream for us to be able to do what we do right now, to be able to be happy, be thriving, and so I'm gonna do that until otherwise noted or advised, or something lands in my lap. I'm gonna stay out here just living
yeah.
my best life.
I think I'm pretty self-sufficient and pretty happy with the life that I'm living. And if someone comes along, that's cool.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm gonna take these trips. I'm elated. I have a trip um in what is that? February, late February. I'm going. My first one of my bucket list things was to go to a concert somewhere else. Just fly somewhere else to go to a concert. So I'm going to Mexico to see Simply Red. So I'm very excited to do that.
I
So
love
that's like
that. That sounds
somebody that
great.
I have never seen Simply Red in concert, and this is like I don't know if they're going away tour or just like it's just a new tour, but going to Mexico City, which I've never been to Mexico City. I've been, the beaches and stuff, but never to Mexico City and just hang out for a minute.
Are you going solo?
I'm going with a friend. Me and Ashley, we're both going, and it's just like because we've always had this rivalry of what song that they sing is the best. So it was like
Okay.
when I found out they're going to be in concert, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to do that. So yeah,
That sounds so fun. I've never been to Mexico City, I don't think either. I think I've only been to Mexico on like cruises, like how they kind of like dock you off somewhere and
right.
let you off for a few hours. But that sounds so exciting. I'm also going on a out of state, but I'm coming to Texas. Like I'm going to out of state concert next year with my little sister. She's based in Houston. We're gonna go see
Okay.
Tyler the Creator. And so I'll be
Oh,
down there in March.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to make it in Dallas. I know Texas is so big though. I was about to say, I wish I could say
I
I'll come
know
drive and see you.
it's
It's big.
it's because people are like, oh, I'm gonna be in Houston. I was like, that's 4 hours away, or
A whole state
actually
away.
four, actually 4.5, depending on the
Wow.
traffic, because Houston has been doing construction on their freeways since I was a child. So it's
Come on
still
now.
they still doing construction on the freeways. So I was like, okay,
Come on, y'all. No, my sister complains about the traffic, and I see it too. I've been to visit her 2 or 3 times in Houston now, at least twice, maybe three.
mm,
But yeah, and the traffic and the construction is bad. It's about as bad as Atlanta. Like it just is.
it's twin. They're twins, definitely.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
where do you
couldn't do it. Well,
see yourself in being in Atlanta? Where do you see yourself outside of the documentary? Because I know that you want that in the can and um everything settled. Oh, I want to ask you this question for sure before I ask you the one that I was just thinking of. After the documentary is finished, complete, and it's ready to show, where's the first place you want to show it?
ooh, that's an excellent question. Um, Probably the gathering spot. The gathering spot is an amazing like meeting space, like that focuses on, black and brown like entrepreneurs and professionals, and it's a co-working space for them. So I would love for that to be the first place because there's like just a lot of, different types of community, and I want to expose our message to people who are not super familiar with what black craft brewers are, up against, or craft brewers at large are up against. So I would think the gathering spot is my first place. And then I would work to show it at several like brewers, like at breweries around Atlanta and even like greater Atlanta, all the way out to Augusta, because we got black brewers. We have a black brewer about to open up in Augusta now. And I would love to do, like showings outside of the city too, just so people can
Mhm.
see just the beautiful creativity and community that's being built, through just craft beer. Like I would say craft beer as a like, as a singular, but black craft beer, like we look out so much. Like so I can't wait to show that beautiful piece of culture to people like in cities outside of Atlanta. So we would start here at the gathering spot, but there's several gathering spots that there's ones outside of Atlanta here, and start there, work with our local brewers, and hopefully just take it on like a multi-city tour. Like definitely in North Carolina, like it's another craft beer hub here in the Southeast. Maybe
Mhm.
take it to Tennessee, maybe Kentucky, since Atlantucky. I see some Kentucky brewers that know that like my owners have some great connections there, and just see where we're wanted. Like that is my big goal. So yeah, and also PBS is expressed an interest in distributing this, because I have one of my production partners
Nice.
used to work with PBS out of California, and so he's reached out to PBS here in Georgia, which is called GPB, Georgia Public Broadcasting, and he had us have a meeting with them a couple of months ago, and they're interested in distributing it where it would go across their streaming platform for it to be able to be picked up by different PBS channels across the country. So hopefully by the
Yes.
time that we're getting ready to finish it, my estimated date of completion is around February of next year. So hopefully right in time for Black History Month. That's our hope if we can get the funding that we need.
Okay.
And like it'll be shown on PBS across the country, and then hopefully we'll have like different showings like in different breweries throughout the country, wherever end up getting picked up. So fingers crossed.
That sounds awesome. That's close.
It is
That's
close,
really
and that's what I'm really like. I'm trying so hard. It's hard with a day job. Obviously, about creating content outside of your like day to day. So I'm really trying every day to at least just contribute, have conversations that are contributing to us getting to that point of completion there every day.
okay. So outside of the documentary, what other goals do you have for yourself that you see you obtaining anything, any different because you have your Cicerone servers certificate. So is there anything else that you want to add to that?
So in terms of craft beer right now, like I think that is about as far as I want to go in craft beer. So I do want to return to my roots in storytelling. So I told you my degree, is in journalism and media. So I want to continue to help tell the stories of people who don't have the tools to tell their story. Like I'm actually, I wrote a grant for myself like a couple of weeks ago for me to start a full media company that will focus on telling the stories of like folks who just don't have the tools or don't have the resources to tell their story. So that's actually how I got my, how I decided that I wanted to go into journalism was by me working for United Way. I worked for one of the biggest nonprofits in the country, right? But I worked in their Atlanta office as an intern when I was still at Georgia State. And my job as the intern was to go out to interview our formerly homeless clients. And homelessness can look so different. For those that don't know, it's like it can be domestic violence, it can be substance abuse, it can be mental health. And so when I tell you, like, interviewing these different people who had just like really had just a, like bad luck, right? Like, and hearing them tell their stories and helping them, then I had to take their stories, like these big, beautiful interviews with them where they're kind of pouring their souls out to me and then refine that into something that our funders, like, like wanted to hear. Like, that was my, like, kind of like training. While I was in college, this is what I was doing for my, like, job, and that really taught me that there's like so much that people want to say, but there's like a way that you can format it for like the right audience, right? Like there's a way that you can kind of condense that down. And I know now that that is something that I think that I was put on this earth to do, to help people who, like don't really know like what kind of story they have. Like when I tell you this, some of these stories from like domestic violence victims and whomever were so powerful that they changed me forever. Like I can remember them like, 10, 15 years down the line. Like I know that those stories are important, but those people just they would have never told me those stories if it was not my job to go and interview them on behalf of like my company because who needs to kind of like fulfill that requirement for our grantors. But I want to do that for everyday people because everybody has a story that might I mean, like again, like change your life, change my life. Like everybody's got that story, and so I wrote a grant for me to be able to tell those stories of people here in Atlanta, people here on the South Side of Atlanta, like living where I live, and continue to do that. And also PBS, when we had our conversation a couple months ago, told me that there is a craft beer law like segment that they already have existing, and that I can contribute stories to that too. Once we have established this first, piece where we're talking about craft beer law and kind of how the ramifications work for Black brewers, like they said, I can contribute to that one too. So we're going to continue to talk about craft beer law, and we're going to continue to talk about the stories of the like I guess like under resourced. Like that's the best word I can find for it, because just not everybody has the same tools like that I have to be able to like edit and like find their audience. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the way that you just said, I just wrote myself a grant. Everybody can do that. I hope you know that.
I mean, what?
And that's amazing because I wish that I could just say, "Oh, let me just write something up." But that is definitely a skill in itself. And I know your bandwidth is very, very low, but that is something that you may want to think about as far as helping funding your documentary to help
Yeah.
people write grants.
Okay. Listen, I want to. Okay. You know, I got you. I got you. And
But there's other people really literally this lady she did something on TikTok and she was like, "Oh, I just want to do so and so and so and so," and basically she had a whole portfolio where she goes in and helps people write grants. And she had a nice portfolio where, at different scales. So you if you need that
I
extra
think
whatever.
I do. I do need that extra income, and it's honestly something that I should explore, because I do have a lot of experience in that. Just having I worked for United Way for 8 years. Like I worked from there from 18 to what 26. That's crazy when I say that out loud. But like they hired me as a work study intern when I was still at Georgia State, and they just kept me on for all of the years of me being at Georgia State. And then I worked there summers, my like spring breaks, and then I worked there for several years after I graduated, just in different capacities. I eventually moved to the
Mhm.
marketing team, but I worked in homelessness for like the first like 6 years of that, and just kind of like dialing in and like helping not just our homeless folks, but then also helping our volunteers help us choose like what kind of grant programs, or what kind of grants made sense for our different nonprofits all over the metro Atlanta area. So I got to see a lot of grants and read those applications over and help our volunteers like understand and synthesize them. So I got a lot of experience, but at the time it just felt like a job. Like so I really I forget to give proper credit due to like what I know. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the flowers. And yeah, I'm down to help. And I got you. So we'll talk more offline.
Sure. Let's see. I think that's really all the questions that I have. Trying to look at the chat over here and see what folks are saying. They were just asking me what was I smoking because I felt like I had a hard day, but it was a hard weekend. I was just tired. I think that the election and everything and my feelings about it, um, I think I'm sad and upset that I'm gonna have to fold my arms and say, you know what, y'all got it.
Y'all got it.
Y'all
That's
got
where
it.
we at. That's where we're at.
This is what you wanted and y'all got it and I'm sad that I have to do that.
Yeah.
Um and I think that's what has me so like just hibernating and then on the outside of the different hats that I wear, being not being complacent, but now I'm scrutinizing other people like, you know what, you ain't pulling your weight either. Let me
Get
mm.
him. Get him. No,
So
I feel
that's
that. Yeah. No, I mean, this is another conversation and another reason I'm so glad I got to go to that trade show earlier today and, just like have community with other black women in craft because like we were able to have a real conversation about that. Like we went to lunch, we didn't lunch with the larger group of the trade show. We went and got lunch at another area in like the development, and we just sat and talked about it. And it's just like we are tired, and it's like it's hard when like like a lot of us especially professionally employed women like they don't have that space in their professional day to day to express that just like not just grief, but just exhaustion, right? Like grief, exhaustion, a little bit of anxiety, if we're being honest, too, about what it's going to look like. But we can't let anxiety win right now. I think none of us are letting anxiety win. We're just letting the apathy because we did what we could do, and also we were talking about how the most qualified presidential candidate in history, that was a black woman, still wasn't enough to get elected by this country,
Mhm.
and it's just like how is it not disheartening? It's like, like we all knew, I feel like, or at least I'm only speaking for myself on this level, where it's like, we know that we can take ourselves and get a college degree. We can go get the experience. And we know that we're still going to have to reprove ourselves when we come into a room, right, in terms of our
Yes.
credentials and, why we deserve to be there. That stuff that like our imposter syndrome may sometimes say, even when it's real and not real, but like I feel like maybe that maybe that's the issue for me. It's like maybe the imposter syndrome is correct,
Mhm.
right? It's like
Yeah.
maybe there are people who just don't think that we really deserve to be sitting at this table, to be sitting in this room, and I don't know. It's just a lot. And so I had to take like I know like last week I went to work on Wednesday, but I told just about everyone I worked with, I was like, I was here, but mentally I was not here. Like I did my best and I was there to do the job that I feel like, was on paper for me, but I was not giving y'all the best Quanisha that I can do. Like because I had an election hangover. And
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that was one topic that we had for Pink Boots. We were calling it not imposter syndrome because it's but a imposter phenomenon
Mm,
and
okay.
how it's knowing that you are enough as you are in 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 your whole being and the voices that you have to deal with on the outside as well as the inside and having to cope with that phenomenon of that self-talk that you have to do knowing that you are enough and that you're complete and that you're um we as black women are usually overqualified in these spaces and having to um crouch down or get into this bubble where we shouldn't have to do that. I should be able to stand very much tall in wherever I am. And now it's like, fuck it. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, fuck it.
Yep.
Uh,
Throw it in
and just
that.
like, it's like, hey, whatever happens is gonna happen. And we're all gonna, and I guess um this lesson that's going to be learned. I don't want to be. I hate that I have to be part of the lesson that has to be learned. You
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So yeah,
Mm,
that's where I'm at right now.
that's where
So
we're at. We'll check back in a week or two. Like that's our commitment to each other. Like I want to check back in
yeah,
on each other because we can't stay down like this. You can't keep a smart, you know, I don't know, like capable black woman down. But right now we're taking a moment. Right? We're taking a beat to just protect ourselves. Protect yourself,
yeah,
protect your peace. And I think that that's so necessary. It's so, so necessary at this moment in time to just protect ourselves. And that's what we're going to do. But we will check in on each other and we ain't going to stay down. That's all I know.
right. It
Yep.
makes me think of the and I never read the book, but I'm contemplating on reading the book. Black women are exhausted, and there's a book and a workbook that goes with it, and I'm like, I think I might have to go ahead and check that book out.
Yep.
That talks about that's helping with the exhaustion of it all. This is probably perfect for at such a time as this. But Yes, we can definitely check in on each other. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today or this evening.
Likewise.
Thank
Thank
you for the
you.
opportunity because I wouldn't have known. I just will say, oh, well, she did the revolution and I won and she won and we won. And I didn't know anything about the the
Yeah.
documentary at all. So
We're
yes,
geographically not close, but like I feel like in our missions we are close. Like I through my research, I've watched, several episodes preparing for this and I'm like our missions are so aligned and in tune, like about just like helping tell the stories of Black people that are doing dope shit in the craft world, right? And so I loved your Greenwood whiskey episode too, because like I serve, like Atlantucky serves Greenwood whiskey. So just like hearing from their
nice.
founders, like I was very energized and I love your mission and I'm just super glad that we could do this. Like you're a
Yes.
gem and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. And we're gonna go ahead and leave on that note, but hang on for a second. We're gonna say our goodnights, but I also want to make sure that people know that this will be the last podcast for the month of November. The next two Mondays we're gonna take a break because it's getting ready for the holiday season. So just hang on tight and I'll see everybody in
See you
December.
soon.